Hey Ryan, I guess just for starters, with Kyle McCord, what set him apart? What was it that made him the next guy that you wanted to bring into what you're building with this quarterback room?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, right from the jump, is somebody that we recognized early as very, very talented. And you had an opportunity to watch him play and thought he had a chance to be a really, really good player. I know he's excited about getting here early on and competing the minute he walks in the door. And he's also the thing that, to me, what he and his family did during this process, which was a very unique recruiting process and cycle, was they did a great job recruiting the other players. He jumped in early, and that made a major impact on our recruiting class. So we're very, very excited that he's now a Buckeye.
Kind of similarly with Trevion Henderson. I mean, obviously there's a lot of fast running backs out there, a lot of powerful running backs out there, but what is it when you look at him that is special?
First off, as a person, Trevion is one of the more special people I've had an opportunity to get to know. The crazy thing about this, he has not been on our campus. The crazy thing is he's coming in with another running back, Evan Pryor, both really, really, really talented young men. But it's who these guys are. Trevion is a 4.0 student, number one running back in the country, hasn't visited here, comes in with another running back. And these guys have built a special relationship, he and Evan. And then what he's done to help, again, recruit this class. I mean, I can't wait to get around these guys. It's been like forever since we've seen them. And some of these guys we haven't met in person, which is unbelievable to me. But how cool is it to see a guy like this, is the top running back in the country, a 4.0 student, making connections with so many of these other recruits, with the dream to come in here and be part of a culture that is about winning championships and bettering themselves and being the best version of themselves. Can't wait to get around him. Really excited that he's a Buckeye.
Hey guys, we have a lot of people on that want to ask questions. Let's go through this first time, just asking one question. We'll get through everyone. If there's an opportunity to get some follow-ups, we'll go that direction. Next up, Mark Givler from Buckeye Scoop. Mark.
Hey, Coach. Kind of a two-part question here, just real quick. A lot of us dopes that cover recruiting think this Ohio class is one of the best in years. Would you agree with that? And then how important is that? If so, how important is that to building a foundation for your class, especially in a very strange year?
I mean, the Ohio guys this year, like you said to me, are special. They're special. What Jack Sawyer has meant to this recruiting class early on, one of the first things I did as a head coach is meet with Jack Sawyer and his family. And he is a special talent, top defensive end in the country. And again, so fired up that he's a Buckeye. And I cannot say enough about what his family and he has done during this time. And he's a special young man, and that's going to make us better, not only in the field. I mean, that's going to take care of itself. He's one of the most talented young men I've ever been around, whether it's football or basketball. But the culture is something he's going to dive into right away and make an impact on us. It's so critically important. And you look at the other guys from Ohio, Mike Hall, unbelievably talented young man, special person. He and his mom have been great. Reed Carrico, winning a state championship. And you talk about somebody, when you look him in his eye, he's going to get something done. He's going to have a great career here just because of the way he takes care of himself. In the classroom, on the field, one of the toughest guys I've seen on film, running sideline to sideline. Ben Chrisman and his family, right from the jump, have been just tremendous during this whole time. The communication has really had to happen like this, in Zooms, FaceTimes, texting, and all of these guys in Ohio are going to be really good players. So you just know it. Sometimes you're not sure. You just know, because we've really had to dig into who these people are even more because of the unique year this has been. So I agree with that. I think this Ohio group is really, really special.
Next up, Jeremy Birmingham with Letterman Row.
Hey, Ryan, you guys signing 6 defensive backs in this class. 2 of them, I guess we'd probably classify as like a true cornerback, with Jacqueline and Jordan. Then you have 2 probable, true safeties in Andre and Jansen. And then you have the other guys in there, the Denzel Burke. and Jalen Johnson, who could probably move around. How important was it for Carey to find a versatile group like that in this class? And I specifically want to ask about Jalen Johnson. He's the lowest ranked member of the class, but I don't think that the class would be where it is without him. And I was hoping you could talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge emphasis for us was the secondary, and Kerry Combs did an unbelievable job early on, and certainly Mark Pantoni deserves so much credit for all that he and his staff have done to put this class together. And I think you all know that, the guys who follow it, but I hope that even the people who don't follow recruiting as much really understand what Mark means to this program and the amount of work he does, but more importantly, how good he is. And I understand in the landscape of college football, recruiting, but then also identifying talent and what fits our culture here. And this class wouldn't be the way it is without Mark and his staff. So we all owe them a ton of thanks. I mean, Kerry did a good job with this group. Like you said, we needed some corners. We needed some cover guys, and JK and Jordan give us that. Two special young men. Both have remarkable stories, and they're both really good guys that we think, again, the culture and on the field is tremendous. When you look at Jansen and Andre, they both played well this year. They did some really good things. We think they're going to be able to have an impact right away. Denzel really never visited here. He's a guy that I had an opportunity to go out and see out in Arizona quickly during recruiting, but didn't really, know a ton about. Has tremendous ability and upside. So we're really fired up that he's a Buckeye. And then Jalen, like you said, has, he's got a great way of connecting with the other recruits. And he's been a glue, to be honest with you, during this whole process, keeping guys together.
Next up, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Coach. You got a big boom, it seemed, over the weekend from Washington State, another outstanding prospect, top 10 or top 20 nationally, Emeka Egbuka. Just your thought on what he will bring. And I think the top wide receiver, second year in a row in the country, with Fleming last year and him this year. And maybe the hope he might bring some other people from his home state with him.
Emeka's a special young man. He's somebody we identified early on. Brian Hartline did an excellent job building a strong relationship there with he and his family. Actually, I was at his high school twice, over this whole recruiting process the last couple of years. But it's been the same thing. I know he wanted to come back and visit during this time, wasn't able to, but he was able to get out here and get a feel. And I think he fell in love with the place when he got here. But this is another 4.0 student, number one wide receiver in the country, culture fit. And again, the fact that Emeka decided to come and be a Buckeye was huge for us. And he's just another piece of the puzzle here. But he's, again, when you look at the combination of ability and who they are, I'm talking about 4.0 student again right here, coming from across the country to come be a part of this culture. It's really special. And in a year that's been really hard. So again, hats off to our staff, but hats off to his family and the work that they put in to find the right place for him and his family.
Next up, Kevin Noon with Rivals Buckeye Grove Network. Kevin?
Yeah, Coach, you guys land 3 offensive linemen with Ben, Zen, and Donovan. How would you assess how offensive line recruiting went this cycle, and just a little bit on each of the 3 linemen that you guys signed today?
Yeah, I think Stud worked his tail off, and again, Mark and everybody did. I think we got 3 really good players, but all very different. Ben, like we talked about in Ohio, big, strong, athletic guy. And he's going to have a really good career here. Donovan Jackson just jumps off the film. He had a funny commitment to us in the when it was still early on in the process. He was in my office and was not expecting him to commit, and kind of did. I almost fell to the floor. That was a huge deal for us to get Donovan. His family are unbelievable. They've been great during this whole process, just with schools continually try to recruit him out of Texas, and he just stayed strong. His loyalty and faith has been tremendous. Another really, really good student, and great culture fit. And then Zen is a unique situation. This is a guy who put on think it's like 60, 70 pounds in, just about a year. And we think, this is one of the things we didn't really have the opportunity to have was to evaluate a ton of these guys on senior film. And because of that, it's been a strange year because a lot of these guys didn't play. Zen did. And we saw right away when we watched this film, Mark brought it down, Stud looked at it, and everybody said, what are we missing here? And we just kept watching his film. And then he played against Elder and just did a great job there. And we're like, this guy has a chance to be special. And he's in our footprint. So really excited to get Zen as well. So 3 really talented young men. I'd give it an A.
Next up, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch. Rob?
Hey, Ryan, can you hear me?
I can.
It's a Zoom miracle. And moving off recruiting just for a second, this is the time when everybody's going political and campaigning for their program. And instead of talking about why other teams shouldn't make it, why should you guys make it if you get to 6-0? How do you see that?
Well, I think first off, everybody's been through different parts of the country. We've all been through different things. And we've always felt like we had a special team. We've never really been at full capacity. And, we haven't had the opportunity to play in as many games, but I can tell you that, we can play with anybody in the country. Now we got to do that on Saturday. We've had an amazing amount of challenges, way more than anybody else in the country, in my opinion. Up here in the north, the minute we went back inside in November, December, the numbers just jumped through the roof. We're in a county that's purple right now. It has been for a long time, or at least it has been, for the good portion of the last month. And we've had disappointments. We'd have games canceled. We've had the season canceled. We've been through so much. Yet to see us play the way we did against Michigan State, and we know our best football is still ahead of us, and we have really talented young men who have stuck together. And if some people can't see that, then that's their problem.
Next up, Bill Landis with The Athletic.
Hey, Ryan, going back to the 3 offensive linemen you guys signed, when you look at that group, do you see any potential for any 3 of those guys to play offensive tackle? And if not, do you anticipate maybe adding another one here before February?
No, I think all 3 of them can play. We've talked about that. I think that's what's great about all 3 of them is they have great versatility. What is he? He's an offensive lineman. That's when you really know. And I think that's great. To have that versatility with all 3 of those guys, they could play multiple positions if you need them to. So we'll see, once we get here and kind of move them around a little bit, see where they're at. But I think, again, that's what makes them special.
Next up, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Ryan, pretty drama-free day for you guys after, such an unusual year. What do you think it was that enabled you guys to be able to keep this class together and build such a strong class, even with everything you've had to go through over the past 9 months?
Well, I think we identified early on some really special families that just built this thing, and we used their feedback from the recruits as well. Who are the guys that fit our culture? And that's what we just kept talking about over and over and over again. If they don't fit, then they probably need to go somewhere else. And we've been very, very honest in recruiting. I think that people recognize the fact that, if you come here, we're going to do everything we can to take care of your son and try to maximize him to be great. And this has been a strange year. It just has. And we've worked so hard to take care of our guys this year and give them every chance they have to get on the field and fight for them, keep them safe, and maximize them the best we possibly can. And I think people see that about us, and because of identifying the right people early on, it allowed us to build a special class.
Thanks, Ryan.
Next up, Jared Smalley, WCMH. Jared?
Hey, Ryan, I know one of the things that Urban always said on National Signing Day was if they're keeping score, you want to win. And as you look at the national analysis of the class, it's, a top 2-3 class, depending on who's doing the grading. How do you all do the grading as you view the whole product, right? The athletic ability, the student, the people, as you mentioned before. Do you view this as the best class in the country? How do you view, as you're scoring it, how do you view it?
It's the best class in the country for Ohio State. What's the best class in the country for another school? That's not the same for us. One of the things if you come here is it's going to be hard. You're going to have to compete to get on the field. You have to compete to play for a national championship. That's what we're looking for here. So first thing you have to do is do they have the physical ability? If they do, you check that box. Are they a culture fit in terms of what they want and their their goals and who they are character-wise? Check that box. How about academically? Check that box. And then by the end, you have this list of guys that you go out and try to recruit, and then you build the relationship. And if the relationship's there, you just keep building on it. But the days of talking people into coming to your school, in my opinion, those days are over. When I was young, and this is no kidding. A head coach walked in with a book and dropped it on my desk on how to close a sale. Those days are over, because with one-time transfer coming in and all the different things that are going on in the world, you have to be an open book. And this is who we are, and this is our culture. And we want to go be elite at everything we do. We've talked about our culture is all about fight to be the best version of yourself. And our goal is to win the national championship every year and be elite. If that's something that fires you up with the type of culture that we have here, then come on, let's go. But again, and certain, obviously, you have to build relationships, and you want to, show everyone the greatest parts of your university, and you have to recruit them and build those relationships. But it's more about building relationships than it is about talking people into coming to your school and chasing stars. To me, that's a short-term, gratification. In the end, what is the product on the field? And that's what we're focused on.
Next up, Bill Dennison with WLW. Bill? All right, I'll come back to you if you're still there, Bill. Next up, Doug LeMaurice, Cleveland.com.
Hey, Ryan. With everything you just said about you're not selling kids on stuff, what is the difference when you are recruiting a player maybe to a position, not of need necessarily, but maybe you didn't get as many guys at that position numbers wise or whatever in the previous class, versus when you're recruiting a kid into a room like your receiver room, maybe whatever, where it's just like, hey, we got a bunch of top elite dudes stacked up. Is there a difference there? Because sometimes I think maybe you can sell opportunity, but then maybe sometimes it's like, well, it's going to be really tough, but this room is great. Is there a difference there?
I think you can always talk about what's there. You can talk about your offense. And I say it all the time, we can say we're a really good academic school and we care about academics, but if your GPA is at 2.2, then that's not accurate. You can say that, we have a really good program, we win a lot, but if you're 6-6, then that's not true. So what you do is you just show them what it is. You show them your on the field record. You show them the fact that the last two semesters you've been over a 3.0 GPA. You can show them, like for instance, in the situation you're talking about, you can show them our passing statistics, what we've done the last 2 to 3 years here, and since we've been together on offense. And that's really what it comes down to. And I think that the guys who want to be great and aren't afraid to compete, they're like, let's go. Good thing about receivers, there's multiple guys. We usually have 3 guys, sometimes 4 guys on the field who are receivers. And we're always going to recruit really good quarterbacks to come in and throw the ball. So, again, a lot of these guys want to go play in the NFL. And in their minds, if they have to, if they can't get on the field here at Ohio State, then how are they going to get on the field in the NFL? And they just want to go compete and be a part of this culture. And I think that's what you saw with Marvin and with Mecca and Jaden too.
Next up, Tony Girdman, Buckeye Scoop. Tony?
Ryan, you mentioned the unique relationship between Evan and Trevion. Knowing that about how they are as people and how they view that, what did you like about them as players? Obviously, you can see the highlights and know that, but like, what do they bring to the football team? What did you like about them on the field?
Yeah, I think they would both tell you that maybe they're little different styles of backs. Evan's a little bit more of a hybrid. Not that Trey can't do a lot of the same things, but he can do a lot of things in space. He's really good as a running back. He can get out on some jet sweeps. He can catch bubbles. He can get the ball in the perimeter and catch it. Trey's a little bit more of an every down back. But it'll be interesting to see how they develop. You think you have it one way until they get here, but we kind of go from there. And I've always said, and you guys have heard me say this all the time, you adapt to the players that you have and you figure out ways. You see us in a little bit more 12 right now because, Rucker, has done a really good job of that with Luke. And so we'll always adapt and move things around based on our personnel. We try to go get the best available and then adapt.
Next up, Bill Rabinowitz, the Columbus Dispatch. Bill?
Hi, Ryan. Kyle McCord is enrolling early. The expectation is that Justin's going to go to the NFL. You have 2 freshmen. Now, how realistic is it for him to genuinely compete for that starting job next year?
I mean, that is going to happen. I mean, he will compete for the job. We're going to have to figure out if Justin decides to go to the NFL, who the next quarterback is at Ohio State, and that's a big, big deal. So I know he's looking forward to getting in here and getting to work right away.
Next up, Tim May with the Tim May podcast, Letterman Row. Tim?
Yeah, Ryan, with everything you said, the 2 key words that keep coming out are culture fit. And here you guys are playing for a 4th straight Big Ten championship. Can you feel that in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center every day of what is special about this team? If you had to put your finger on it, about this program, what would ultimately be that thing that makes you guys different, in your opinion?
I think it because of this year, it's probably changed a little bit. I think that last year was a little different than this year. I think if you're asking me right now what's special about this group, I would say their maturity. They've had to mature a lot in the last year. They've had to overcome. They can handle adversity. They can handle disappointment, and they just keep moving forward. I think it's given them great perspective. And there's a seriousness about, especially the older guys. The younger guys are still trying to figure out. They've been through a lot, these younger guys. They came in and had no spring ball, and it went home, and now they're back. It's amazing to me what they've all been through. But they've had to grow up fast. It's like anything else. When you go through difficult times when you're young, you have to grow up fast. And we all heard those stories. And I think that's what's happening with this group. And they've become very, very mature. And I think that's really neat. They know exactly what they want. They know that this year hasn't been the same. I think that once we hopefully get, COVID in the rearview mirror, it'll go back to maybe it was last year. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep moving along and try to win this championship, because I want to make sure we have something to show for all the sacrifice that's gone on over the last few months, because it's been amazing to me.
Thanks, man.
Next up, Patrick Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, I asked some of the players yesterday about how this week's been different heading into a Big Ten championship game. And then it occurred to me that even the Big Ten championship game itself is different. It's at noon instead of at night on Saturday. How does that change things for you guys? I know you like noon games, but year after year, it's been, okay, we get ready for 8 p.m. kickoff. What changes about that this year?
Well, we decided that we were going to practice the last couple of days at noon, just to give us a little head start on a noon kick. So that changed a little bit. But the fact that there's no fans there, it'll be kind of like the combine in Indy. There'll be nobody there, and we'll be playing a game. So again, I don't know. We're just going to try to do everything we can to bring our own energy. And, the electricity we talked about early on in the week was just, when you walk into that stadium and you take that bus over to Lucas Oil, that's usually the more electric environments year in and year out. And for the older guys, to go through that process of what that's like and coming out of the locker room and playing in that championship game, you can feel it when you're in that building. And so we're going to try to replicate that the best we can, knowing that it will be different.
Next up, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Ryan, congrats on a big day. Hey, you talk to us pretty frequently about just trying to beat your opponent, be better than your opponent, no matter what all the other circumstances are. In the case of recruiting, everybody's your opponent. It's a national landscape, and you guys have excelled this year with such a big national class. How were you so effectively able to bring in such a well-respected class this year?
Well, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of ingenuity, just in terms of trying to figure out how to connect with these families with not being able to see them really in person for the last, year almost. And that's been a challenge. But being honest, being an open book, talking to them about what this means and in terms of coming into our program, what the expectations are. And then I think it's been, these recruits together, coming together, and the leadership of this class has already started. We would have group Zooms together with a bunch of guys in this class, and you could tell there's already leaders in this group, and they all want to be great. That's the thing that I think they all share, is they want to be elite and they want to be part of this culture and they want to get here as soon as they can. I tell them all the time, don't wish it away. You're going to wish you were home once you get here. For the first couple months, you're going to be missing mom's cooking and all those things. But I think it's all those things combined which has made this group special.
Next up, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
Ryan, I know that some of this is hard to talk about in the middle of that championship prep, but when you look at the quarterback situation, how much did CJ and Jack get out of this year, which has not been a normal freshman year? What does that mean for Kyle? How far behind is he compared to those two? And if you get to January and Justin's gone, it's these three, which are basically freshmen, what would be your comfort level with that moving forward into next year?
I mean, anytime you're playing with quarterbacks who haven't played, your comfort level is not real high. I can promise you that. So yeah, it'll be anxious, but you recruit guys for a reason, and you got to develop them, and you got to get them out there, and you got to let them play. Going back to your first point, they haven't played in games. I mean, they've got a couple reps here and there, but they haven't actually played. They practiced a lot, so I think they're getting a feel for the offense, which is great. But there's nothing like game reps, and as you guys know, you don't really know until you get them in the game. So that's been hard for them. And so maybe, once we get going in the spring, we'll try to figure out how to address that issue. But like you said, right now, we're just focused on this game.
Next up, Stephen Means with Cleveland.com.
Hey, Ryan, depending on some decisions by some of your players, you might have a depleted tight end room. Where the discussions with Sam Hart, understanding that fact, and does he need to come in kind of ready to go from the get-go if that happens?
Yeah. We want everybody to have that same mentality. But like you said, we feel good about the tight end room's depth. We feel like some of these young guys have really grown and gotten better, and Kevin's done a really good job of developing that room. So you're certainly going to miss Luke, and Ruck's got to make a decision. But yeah, Sam's going to come in and make an impact early on. But again, I think that room's done a really good job. You think about Jake Hausman's, done a really good job day in and day out and providing, depth there and giving us really good plays this season. It's been a room of strength, and I think some of these tight ends have seen what our plan is for that position moving forward. So I think some guys are really excited about that, and Sam, decided he was going to jump on pretty early in this process as well, and really excited about him. Another great fit, great family. Looking forward to getting to work with him.
Next up, Zach Carpenter, 11 Warriors.
Hey, Ryan, you have guys like Jack and Trey who they have these kind of massive expectations for their first year, for their freshman year. Do you have to sort of go through a process of maybe resetting their expectations for their first year, or do you not really want them to reset their goals?
Well, I think one thing that you talk about in the process, and you have to do this in recruiting, nobody really wants to talk about this, but it's the truth, is that everybody's journey is different. And the only guarantee is that whatever you think your journey is going to be, it's not going to happen that way. It never does. So you have to be able to adapt and to have the motivation to go get on the field and play right now. I mean, that's what you should have. But to create expectations for yourself to get let down is not. So what do? The goal is to just maximize every day, fight to be the best version every single day of yourself. And eventually, if you have enough talent and you develop enough, you're going to get on the field. It's just going to happen naturally. When? Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things that come into play there. There's injuries, there's things that get in your way. So we talk to them about that in recruiting. It's not like we come in here and just tell them, hey, you're going to come in and play the first day you walk on campus. Well, that's not going to happen. There's a lot of good players that have gotten recruited and developed in the program before, but they do have an opportunity to come in and make an impact right away and compete for the job. And then for those who can do it, I mean, certainly the blueprint is there. There's been a lot of freshmen who have come in and played right away and go get it. But if it doesn't happen all at once, then you work through that adversity. And one of the things that I think I'm going to share with the team is it's almost like what I wish I could record and show them a senior tackle. When you hear these seniors talk about all the adversity they've been through in their process and what their expectations were when they walked in the door, it's really significant. And that's the reality. That's not typically what people want to hear in recruiting, but that's the truth. And that's why you want to recruit great character people and a great culture fit, because that's in the end what's going to keep them here, because they picked Ohio State for the right reasons.
Folks, we have time for 2 more questions. Next up, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, understanding a lot of recruiting's about fit and how things work out on your roster and culture. Would it still mean anything to you guys as a program to, on paper, ultimately sign a #1 class and get a recruiting crown, which is obviously difficult to come by?
No, it doesn't. I'm not really interested in that at all, because it's just someone's opinion, and I get it. I respect it all, but in the end, you got to find the right guys for Ohio State, the right fit. And I would say, it's not 100%, but the guys that we bring in, they're the right fit for us. This is the #1 recruiting class for us. I'm sure some people look at that a little bit more in the end, and I just want to make sure we have the right guys for us and that we're winning once they get here in 4 years. To me, that's the true test of a recruiting class, is where is it at in 4 years or 3 years from when they signed. And I know, it's fun, it's great to talk about and all that stuff, but in the end, what matters is what they do when they get here. And that's what we stay focused on.
And final questions this afternoon for Coach Day comes from Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row. Spencer?
Ryan, usually in a normal year, Mark and all the people behind the scenes are putting together travel itineraries and trying to get kids to campus and stuff. And then this year was completely different. You had Jack and some of the guys go out of the way to make their own travel plans and get everybody together in Columbus. I know you guys didn't have anything to do with that, but what does it tell you about a guy who not only is a 5-star guy on the field, seems to be able to put a class together off the field, but also coordinates everything to make sure you guys get the best players possible and maximize the challenges the recruiting class faced?
Yeah, it's leadership at a young age. This is a really mature young man and great family. And it wasn't just him, but he was a big part of it. And that's what this thing's come down to, is this group's already really, really tight. They're going to come in here knowing so much about each other. And I'm just telling you, I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see really, really special things from this class moving forward.